Ambassador Catherine Blake walked through the crystal halls of Nexus Prime, her boots clicking against the smooth floor. The massive space station orbited a dying star, its light casting strange shadows through the transparent walls. She had been coming to these meetings for 3 years now, but the alien architecture still amazed her. Today felt different, though. The other species seemed nervous, whispering among themselves in their strange languages. The Karathi delegation, with their green scales and sharp teeth, kept glancing at her with what looked like hatred. The crystalline Vextar hummed in frequencies that hurt her ears. Even the gas-dwelling Nephilim, usually friendly, avoided her completely. Catherine represented all of humanity at the Galactic Council. It was a big responsibility for one person, but humans were still new members. For 15 years they had been the junior partners, doing whatever the older species asked. Humans built things, fought small wars, and kept the peace in distant corners of the galaxy. Most aliens thought of them as useful pets. She entered the main council chamber, a huge dome filled with floating platforms for each species. The human platform was small and positioned at the bottom, showing their low status. Catherine took her seat and activated her translation device. War speaker Zekthor, the leader of the Karathi, began the meeting. His voice was harsh and threatening even through the translator. "We gathered today to discuss the future of our galaxy," he said. "Some species grow too quickly. Some become dangerous to the natural order." Catherine frowned. This was not the usual talk about trade routes and mining rights. She activated her recording device secretly, something humans had learned to do at every meeting. The Vextar representative, a being made of living crystal named Shardsinger Velan, spoke next. Her voice sounded like breaking glass. "The young species shows concerning signs. Their technology advances too fast. Their population grows without control. Their military becomes stronger each year." Catherine realized they were talking about humanity. Her heart began beating faster. High floater Nemesis of the Nephilim spoke from his gas-filled bubble. "We have monitored their communications. They speak of exploring beyond our galaxy. They dream of spreading to other star systems we have not yet claimed." Zekthor's eyes fixed on Catherine. "The human sits among us, but she does not belong here. Her species threatens the stability we have maintained for 1,000 years. Catherine stood up. "If you have concerns about humanity, you should speak to us directly. We have always followed council law. We have helped keep peace." The war speaker laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Peace? You humans understand only war. Your history shows endless conflict. Your nature is violence." "That's not true," Catherine said. "We have worked hard to earn our place here." Velan's crystal body flashed with angry light. "Your place? You are insects who learn to use fire. You are children playing with weapons of mass destruction." The meeting continued for hours, but Catherine could see the pattern. Every topic somehow turned back to the dangers of humanity. The other species had clearly planned this. They spoke about human colonies growing too large, human ships becoming too advanced, human ideas spreading too far. When the official meeting ended, Catherine stayed in her seat pretending to review notes. The aliens began to leave, but she heard them talking in a side chamber. Her translation device was good enough to pick up their conversation. "The final cleansing protocol is ready," Zekthor said. "Our scientists have perfected the bioweapon. It targets only human DNA." Catherine's blood turned cold. She kept listening, not daring to move. "How long until deployment?" asked Velan. "The weapon is already loaded onto our ships," replied Nemesis. "We can strike all human worlds simultaneously. None will survive. And the human fleet? Scattered across the galaxy on peacekeeping missions. We made sure to send them far from their homeworld before beginning this operation." Catherine realized the truth hit her like a physical blow. The recent missions that had sent human ships to distant systems were not random assignments. They were part of the plan to separate humanity's defenders from their homes. "When do we begin?" Velan asked. "Tomorrow," Zekthor said. "We start with communication blackouts. No human world will be able to warn the others. Then we release the bioweapon simultaneously across all their colonies." Catherine heard footsteps approaching and quickly pretended to be packing her things. The aliens passed by without looking at her, but she caught one last piece of conversation. "What about the human representative?" Nemesis asked. "She will watch her species die, then we will dispose of her," Zekthor replied. "It is fitting that the last human should witness the end of her kind." Catherine waited until she was sure they were gone, then ran toward the docking bay where her ship waited. She had to warn Earth, had to tell everyone about the plan. But when she reached her ship, Captain Jake Morrison met her with a worried expression. "Ambassador, we have a problem," he said. "Our communication systems just went dead. All channels are blocked." Catherine looked at the ship's instruments. Every light that should have been green was now red. Their quantum communicator, their emergency beacons, even their basic radio systems had been disabled. "It's not a malfunction," she said quietly. "They're jamming us." Jake looked confused. "Who's jamming us? Why?" Catherine stared out at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them human worlds were about to face destruction. Billions of people going about their daily lives not knowing that death was coming from the sky. "The Council has decided that humanity is too dangerous to live," she said. "They're going to kill everyone." Jake stepped back in shock. "That's impossible. We're allies. We've helped them for years." "We've also grown strong," Catherine replied. "Stronger than they expected. And now they're afraid of us." She tried the ship's systems again, but nothing worked. They were trapped here, forced to watch while their entire species faced extinction. The aliens had planned this perfectly, cutting off all warnings, all hope of escape. But as Catherine stared at the dead communication panel, she remembered something. Humans were survivors. They had faced extinction before and found ways to endure. Maybe the Council had made a mistake in underestimating them. Maybe this was not the end, but the beginning of something much larger. Dr. Lisa Carter was working late in her laboratory on New Montana when the first wave hit. The mining colony was home to 50,000 people, mostly families who had come to extract rare metals from the planet's crust. Lisa studied the local bacteria, trying to find ways they could help with the mining process. The attack came without warning. Strange silver pods fell from the sky like deadly rain, landing in every major city across the planet. When they opened, they released a pale green gas that spread quickly through the air. Lisa watched from her lab window as people in the streets began to collapse. The gas seemed to affect everyone differently. Some people died within minutes, their bodies simply shutting down. Others lasted hours, coughing and struggling to breathe. But some people seemed completely unaffected, walking through the green clouds as if nothing was happening. Her assistant, Dr. Paul Rivera, burst into the lab wearing a protective suit. "Lisa, you need to get to the bunker. It's some kind of biological weapon." Lisa grabbed her emergency kit and followed Paul to the underground shelter. Around them, the colony's automated systems were broadcasting warnings about toxic contamination. But as they ran, Lisa noticed something strange. The weapon was not affecting everyone equally. In the bunker, 37 survivors huddled together, sharing stories of what they had seen. Old Mrs. Betty Walsh had walked right through the gas to reach safety. Young Tony Rodriguez had carried 3 children to the shelter without even coughing. But Mr. Frank Cooper had died in seconds, and his wife Anna was still struggling to breathe. Lisa began taking blood samples from everyone in the bunker. As a biologist, she knew that biological weapons usually targeted specific genetic markers. But this weapon seemed almost random in its effects. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Pete Rodriguez was dealing with a crisis that made no sense. Communication with the colonies had been cut off suddenly, all at the same time. Emergency protocols activated automatically, bringing hidden defense systems online across the solar system. Pete stood in the command center buried deep under the Rocky Mountains. Around him, screens showed the positions of every human ship in known space. Most of the fleet was scattered on peacekeeping missions just as the aliens had planned. But the Council had made one crucial mistake. They thought they knew everything about human military capability. They were wrong. "Admiral, we're receiving automated distress signals from 12 colony worlds," reported Commander Alex Wright. "All signals cut off at exactly the same time." Pete studied the data. The timing was too perfect to be an accident. "This is a coordinated attack. Activate Code Black protocols." Code Black was humanity's deepest secret. For 10 years, ever since discovering ancient alien artifacts on Mars, humans had been preparing for this exact situation. The artifacts told the story of other species that had been wiped out by the Galactic Council. Humanity had learned from their deaths. Hidden bases throughout the solar system came online. Automated shipyards in the asteroid belt began producing warships. Secret research facilities revealed weapons that no alien species knew humans possessed. Dr. Helen Foster received the activation signal at her laboratory on Titan. She had spent years studying the alien artifacts, learning about technologies that were millions of years old. The original creators had been wiped out by the same council that now threatened humanity. Begin quantum entanglement weapon testing, she ordered her team. It's time to show them what we've learned. Back on New Montana, Lisa had made a breakthrough. The biological weapon was designed to target human DNA, but it was based on genetic samples that were 15 years old. Since joining the Galactic Council, human genetics had been slowly changing due to exposure to cosmic radiation and alien environments. The weapon was deadly to humans with old Earth genetics, but newer generations had natural resistance. The Council's intelligence was outdated. Lisa activated an emergency transmitter that connected to the colony's remaining communication satellite. This is Dr. Lisa Carter on New Montana. The biological weapon has limited effectiveness. Repeat, the weapon has limited effectiveness. Recommend immediate countermeasures based on genetic adaptation protocols. Her message was picked up by hidden sensors throughout human space. Within hours, medical teams on every human world began distributing resistance treatments based on Lisa's data. The alien attack had killed about 400 million humans across 12 worlds. It was a terrible loss, but far from the total extinction the Council had planned. Worse for the aliens, the survivors were angry. Captain Amy Chen commanded a patrol ship near the edge of human space when she received the code Black activation. Her ship, the Solar Wind, immediately changed course toward Earth, but as she traveled, automated systems activated that she had never seen before. Captain, our weapon systems are upgrading automatically, reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Ryan Davis. I'm seeing technologies I don't recognize. Amy smiled grimly. She had always suspected the military was hiding advanced weapons. Now she knew why. Let them upgrade, Lieutenant. We're going to need everything we have. Across human space, similar scenes played out on hundreds of ships. Weapons that seemed impossible became real. Defensive systems that could stop any known alien attack came online. Transportation technology that could move ships faster than light activated for the first time. On Mars, Commander Sarah Walsh oversaw the activation of the planet's hidden defense grid. Massive quantum cannons rose from underground installations. Orbital platforms that had looked like simple research stations revealed their true nature as heavily armed battleships. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council, reported her communications officer. Sarah listened to the message. It was a demand for humanity's immediate surrender, claiming that resistance was useless against the superior alien forces. She recorded her reply carefully. This is Commander Sarah Walsh of the Mars Defense Force. We have received your message. Here is our response. She activated the planet's quantum cannon array and fired a single shot across space. The energy beam crossed thousands of light years instantly, striking the Council's communication center on Nexus Prime. The entire facility vanished in a flash of light. Sarah smiled as she continued her message. You wanted a war. Now you have one. The message was broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every human ship and base in the galaxy. It also reached the alien forces that had just committed genocide against human colonies. For the first time in galactic history, the Council faced an enemy that was not trying to negotiate or surrender. Humanity was preparing to fight back with weapons and technologies the aliens had never imagined. The war had begun, and the Council was about to learn why every extinct species in their own ancient records had feared humans above all others. Colonel Steve Parker had been waiting for this day for 8 years. Deep in the asteroid belt, hidden inside a massive rock called Ceres Station, he commanded the most secret project in human history. Around him, automated factories worked day and night building ships that officially did not exist. Colonel, Code Black protocols are active, reported Major Linda Hayes, his second in command. All shipyards are at full production. Steve walked to the observation deck and looked out at the construction bays. Hundreds of ships floated in various stages of completion. These were not the peaceful vessels that humans showed to the aliens. These were warships designed with one purpose: to win a fight for humanity's survival. How many ships do we have ready for combat? He asked. Linda checked her tablet. 347 fully armed vessels. Another 200 will be ready within the week. Steve nodded. The aliens thought humanity had maybe 50 military ships scattered across the galaxy. They had no idea about the secret fleet that had been growing in the shadows for years. Dr. Helen Foster was equally busy at her research station on Titan. The quantum entanglement weapons she had developed were based on alien technology, but humans had improved them in ways their original creators never imagined. Begin targeting sequence, she told her team. Primary target is the Karathi Military Command Center on Nexus Prime. Her assistant, Dr. Marcus Bell, monitored the quantum targeting system. Range is over 50,000 light-years. Are you sure this will work? Helen smiled. The aliens taught us about quantum entanglement, but they never learned to weaponize it properly. They were too afraid of the power. We're not. The weapon fired, its energy traveling instantly across space through quantum dimensions. On Nexus Prime, the entire Karathi command structure vanished in a flash of light. 3,000 alien military leaders died in less than a second. Captain Amy Chen led the first strike force away from Earth. Her ship had been upgraded with technologies that still amazed her. They could move faster than light without using the traditional warp drives that aliens could detect. Instead, they slipped through quantum space, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Target acquired, reported Lieutenant Ryan Davis. Karathi supply convoy. 12 ships. Amy studied the tactical display. The alien convoy was heavily armed, but they were using old defensive systems that humans had been studying for years. Fire quantum torpedoes, she ordered. The weapons struck the alien ships before their sensors could detect the attack. All 12 vessels exploded simultaneously, their crews never knowing what hit them. Amy opened a communication channel to the dying aliens. This is Captain Amy Chen of the Human Navy. Your council declared war on us. Now you get to see what human war looks like. On Mars, Commander Sarah Walsh was coordinating attacks across 3 sectors simultaneously. The planet's hidden command center allowed her to communicate instantly with human forces anywhere in the galaxy. Strike Team Alpha, hit the Vextar crystal network nodes in Sector 7, she ordered. Strike Team Beta, destroy the Nephilim gas refineries in Sector 12. The attacks were precisely timed. Across the galaxy, alien infrastructure began collapsing as human forces struck at targets the Council never thought were vulnerable. Engineer Tony Clark was responsible for one of humanity's most devastating weapons, the ghost ships. These vessels could phase in and out of normal space, making them invisible to all known detection systems. Tony piloted the first ghost ship himself, approaching a heavily defended Karathi world. The planet's orbital defenses were designed to stop conventional attacks, but they could not target what they could not see. He phased his ship back into normal space directly above the planet's capital city. This is for New Montana, he said, and fired a single quantum missile. The explosion could be seen from orbit. The entire city, including the planet's military headquarters, was reduced to ash. Tony phased out again and disappeared before the aliens could respond. Dr. Frank Miller coordinated the psychological warfare campaign. From his base on Luna, humans had learned that many alien species were vulnerable to fear and confusion in ways that humans were not. Broadcast the footage from all successful strikes, he ordered. Make sure every alien world sees what happened to their military leaders. The videos spread across alien communication networks faster than their governments could stop them. Footage of Karathi ships exploding, Vextar crystal networks shattering, and Nephilim gas platforms burning created panic among alien populations. Colonel Steve Parker launched his secret fleet in 3 waves. The first wave struck at military targets. The second wave hit industrial centers. The third wave went after government installations. Each attack was perfectly planned. Human intelligence networks built over 15 years of peaceful cooperation had mapped every important alien facility. The Council's own trust in humanity became their greatest weakness. Admiral Pete Rodriguez watched the battle reports from Earth's command center. In just 72 hours, human forces had destroyed more than half of the Council's military capability. Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 alien worlds, reported Commander Alex Wright. Pete shook his head. No surrenders. They chose total war when they tried to genocide us. Now they get total war. Dr. Helen Foster fired her quantum weapons again, this time targeting the Vextar homeworld's crystal core. The entire planet's consciousness network collapsed, leaving millions of crystal beings in confused isolation. Captain Amy Chen led her strike force against the Nephilim's main gas processing facility. The aliens had never imagined that solid matter beings could fight effectively in gas giant environments. They were wrong. Using specialized suits and modified ships, human forces moved through the gas giant's atmosphere like hunting sharks. The Nephilim, who had always felt safe in their gas clouds, found themselves helpless against human tactics. Engineer Marcus Bell deployed his newest creation, nanobots that could infiltrate alien computer systems. These microscopic machines spread through alien networks, turning their own technology against them. Their ships are firing on each other, reported Dr. Carol Young, monitoring the nanobots' progress. Their communication systems are broadcasting human battle songs. The psychological effect was devastating. Alien forces began to believe that humans could control their minds, their ships, even their thoughts. As the third day of war ended, the balance of power in the galaxy had completely reversed. The species that had ruled for 1,000 years were in full retreat. Their mighty fleets were burning wrecks, their homeworlds were under siege, and humanity was just getting started. Commander Sarah Walsh opened a communication channel that reached every alien world simultaneously. Her voice was calm but filled with deadly promise. You declared war on humanity believing we were weak. You tried to exterminate us believing we were helpless. You have learned the first lesson about humans. We are neither weak nor helpless. Now you will learn the second lesson. We never forgive, and we never forget. General Linda Hayes stood on the bridge of the battleship New Montana's Revenge, watching as her forces liberated the colony where the war had begun. 3 months after the alien attack, she was leading 50,000 human Marines in the reconquest of their own world. The Karathi occupying forces had expected easy control over a dead planet. Instead, they found themselves fighting survivors who had been hardened by biological warfare and were now fighting with weapons that seemed to come from nightmares. General, the southern continent is clear, reported Colonel Mike Stevens over the radio. The aliens are retreating to their orbital platforms. Linda smiled grimly. The Karathi had made the mistake of using New Montana as a military base, thinking the poisoned world would be safe. They had not counted on human determination to take back what was theirs. Target the orbital platforms with quantum artillery, she ordered. No survivors. The massive guns fired from the planet's surface, their energy beams reaching into space instantly. The Karathi platforms exploded one by one, their crews dying in the cold vacuum. Engineer Marcus Bell was busy with his latest project on Jupiter's moon Europa. He had developed what humans called ghost ships, vessels that could move through dimensions that aliens did not know existed. Phase drive is stable, reported his assistant, Dr. Carol Young. We can now move an entire fleet through quantum space. Marcus nodded. The ghost ships had already destroyed hundreds of alien vessels, appearing from nowhere to strike and then vanishing again. But now we could move whole armies invisibly across the galaxy. Prepare the fleet for Operation Deep Strike, he said. Target: the Vextar homeworld. The Vextar had thought themselves safe behind their crystal barriers. Their homeworld was protected by energy shields that could stop any known weapon. But they had never faced human creativity. Captain Amy Chen led the Ghost Fleet through quantum space, carrying 200 ships directly into the heart of Vextar territory. They emerged from their dimensional hiding place directly inside the enemy's defensive perimeter. All ships fire at will, she commanded. The battle was over in minutes. The Vextar crystals, so beautiful and seemingly indestructible, shattered under human quantum weapons. Their harmonic communications network collapsed, leaving survivors isolated and terrified. Commander Sarah Walsh coordinated the attack from Mars, watching as human forces struck at targets across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy simultaneously. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could fight on so many fronts at once. Strike Force Charlie reports success at the Nephilim gas refineries, she announced. Strike Force Delta has destroyed the Karathi breeding worlds. Strike Force Echo is engaging the Vextar crystal farms. The war had become a systematic dismantling of alien civilization. Humans did not just want to win, they wanted to ensure that no alien species would ever threaten them. Again, Major Tony Clark commanded, a special operations team that infiltrated alien worlds, using technology that made them invisible to all known sensors. His mission was psychological warfare on a level that aliens had never experienced. On the Karathi world of Sector Prime, Tony's team planted devices that made the planet's volcanoes erupt simultaneously. The aliens thought humans could control their very planet, creating terror that spread faster than their armies could move. Phase 2. Complete, Tony reported. The entire population believes humans can manipulate geological forces. Dr. Helen Foster had moved beyond her original quantum weapons to create something even more terrifying. Weapons that could destroy the fabric of space itself. Her new gravity bombs could collapse star systems. Target the Nephilim home system, ordered Admiral Pete Rodriguez. Make sure they understand the consequences of genocide. Helen activated her ultimate weapon. The Nephilim's home star collapsed into a black hole, taking their entire civilization with it. The few survivors in distant colonies received a simple message. This is what happens to species that try to exterminate humanity. Engineer Paul Rivera developed nanobots that could rewrite alien DNA, turning their own biology against them. Korathi soldiers found their scales falling off. Vextar crystals lost their ability to process light. Even the gas-based Nephilim discovered they could no longer exist in their natural environment. The psychological effect was worse than death. Aliens began to believe that humans could unmake them at the genetic level, that their very existence depended on human mercy. Captain Jake Morrison, who had escaped from Nexus Prime with Ambassador Catherine Blake, now commanded a task force hunting down the council members, who had ordered humanity's extinction. War Speaker Zekthor has been located on the fortress world of Korathi Prime, reported his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Susan Carter. Jake smiled coldly. The Korathi leader had hidden behind the strongest defenses his species could build. It would not matter. Bring us in at full stealth, Jake ordered. I want to look into his eyes before we kill him. The ghost ship materialized directly in Zekthor's command chamber. The alien leader had just enough time to recognize Jake before a quantum blade ended his life. General Betty Walsh led the assault on the last Vextar stronghold, a crystal city that floated in space between dimensions. The aliens thought they had found a place where humans could not follow. They were wrong. Human engineers had learned to navigate dimensional barriers that the Vextar themselves barely understood. Vetti's forces appeared inside their impossible fortress like demons from another reality. All crystal cores are to be destroyed, she ordered. Leave no possibility of regeneration. The Vextar collective consciousness died with a sound like a trillion bells breaking at once. Dr. Frank Miller coordinated the information warfare that accompanied each military victory. Every alien world received detailed recordings of their leaders' deaths, their planet's destruction, their fleet's annihilation. Broadcast the message on all frequencies, he ordered. Make sure every surviving alien understands their situation. The message was simple. Your leaders tried to exterminate humanity. Your leaders are dead. Your worlds are burning. Your fleets are destroyed. Surrender now, or join them. Colonel Steve Parker's secret shipyards had produced over 3,000 warships, more than enough to occupy every alien world simultaneously. Human forces spread across the galaxy like a flood, claiming territory that had been alien for millions of years. Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from over 200 alien worlds, reported Major Ryan Davis. Steve considered the offers carefully. Some would be accepted, others would be rejected as examples to any species that might consider resistance. The war had lasted 8 months. In that time, humanity had gone from near extinction to complete galactic dominance. The species that had ruled for 1,000 years were now either dead or begging for mercy. But the humans were not finished. They had learned a lesson about trusting others with their survival. Never again would they be vulnerable to attack. Commander Alex Wright stood in the ruins of the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime. The building had been beautiful once, a symbol of alien cooperation and wisdom. Now it was a monument to the consequences of betraying humanity. Begin construction of the Human Command Center, he ordered. This galaxy has new management. Admiral Catherine Blake stood in the rebuilt command center on Nexus Prime, exactly 1 year after the war had ended. The crystal spires that once housed alien delegates now served as communication arrays for the human hegemony. Through the transparent walls, she could see construction ships building defensive platforms that would protect the station from any future threats. The few surviving alien leaders knelt before her on what had once been the council floor. War Speaker Zekthor was dead, but his replacement, a smaller Korathi named Sekmal, trembled as he waited for her judgment. You requested this meeting, Catherine said calmly. Speak. Sekmal's translator made his voice sound weak and desperate. Great Admiral, the Karathi people beg for mercy. We have learned our mistake. Humans are the rightful rulers of this galaxy. Catherine looked at him without emotion. The Karathi had killed millions of humans with their bioweapon. Their homeworld was now a human military base, their surviving population working in labor camps. Your people chose genocide, she replied. The consequences are permanent. Behind Sekmal, the crystal fragments that remained of Velan, once proud leader of the Vextar, pulsed with faint light. The Vextar collective consciousness had been shattered, leaving only broken individuals who could barely think. We did not understand human nature, the crystal being managed to say. We thought you were like us. We were wrong, Catherine nodded. Yes, you were wrong. You assumed we would be easy to destroy because we seemed peaceful. You forgot that peaceful and harmless are not the same thing. The third surviving leader, High Floater Nemosis of the Nephilim, spoke from his protective gas bubble. Most of his species had died when their home system was collapsed into a black hole. What do you want from us? He asked. Catherine walked to the center of the chamber where a holographic display showed the current state of the galaxy. Green markers indicated human-controlled worlds. Red markers showed the locations of former alien civilizations. The red markers were few and scattered. We want to ensure this never happens again, she said. For 1,000 years your council ruled through fear and genocide. You destroyed species that became too advanced, too numerous, or too ambitious. You called it maintaining balance. We call it murder. Dr. Frank Miller, now Secretary of Galactic Affairs, stepped forward with a datapad. He had been busy for months cataloging the Council's crimes from their own records. We have found evidence of 47 species that your Council deliberately exterminated, he announced. Entire civilizations wiped out because they developed faster than light travel, or because their populations grew too large, or simply because they asked for equal representation. The alien leaders said nothing. They could not deny the records that their own governments had kept. Catherine activated the holographic display, showing images of dead worlds and extinct species. The Valani destroyed 200 years ago for developing quantum weapons. The Morden exterminated 50 years ago for questioning council authority. The Lixarian killed just 10 years ago for refusing to limit their birth rate. She turned to face the kneeling aliens. You made the same mistake with humanity that you made with all of them. You underestimated us. Admiral Jake Morrison entered the chamber, his uniform bearing the new insignia of the human hegemony. He had spent the past year hunting down war criminals and establishing human authority across the galaxy. All remaining council loyalists have been captured or eliminated, he reported. The last resistance cell surrendered this morning, Catherine nodded. The aliens had tried to organize guerrilla campaigns against human rule, but they had failed to understand how thoroughly humans could monitor and control information networks. What about the Outer Rim surveys? She asked. Captain Amy Chen reports success, Jake replied. We have found 17 species that survived council genocide attempts by hiding in distant star systems. All have agreed to join the hegemony. This was one of humanity's first priorities after the war, finding survivors of the council's previous extinctions. Many species had managed to escape by fleeing to the galaxy's edge, living in fear for generations. Captain Amy Chen's exploration fleets had found the survivors and offered them something the council never had: protection without domination. These species were now grateful allies of humanity. Engineer Marcus Bell arrived with his latest invention, a quantum communication network that connected every human world instantly. Unlike the old council systems, this network could not be jammed or intercepted. The new defense grid is online, he announced. Any threat to human space will be detected and eliminated automatically. The defense grid was humanity's guarantee that another sneak attack would never succeed. Quantum sensors monitored every star system. Automated weapons platforms could respond to threats faster than any living being could react. Dr. Helen Foster had moved beyond weapons research to something more important: terraforming technology that could restore worlds damaged by the war. The planets that had suffered bioweapon attacks were slowly healing under human care. New Montana's biosphere is now completely restored, she reported. The survivors are returning to their homes. Catherine smiled. The colony where the war had begun was now a symbol of human resilience. Its people had not just survived, but had become some of the fiercest defenders of human space. Colonel Steve Parker's shipyards now produced vessels for exploration rather than war. The secret fleet that had won the war was being converted to peaceful purposes: trade ships, research vessels, and colony transports. "We have requests from 43 species asking for human protection," he reported. "Small civilizations that are afraid of what might fill the power vacuum left by the Council?" Catherine considered this carefully. The human government had debated whether to become galactic rulers or simply to defend their own territory. In the end, they had chosen a middle path. "We will protect any species that asks for our help," she decided. "But we will not force our rule on anyone. The galaxy has had enough of forced submission." Dr. Carol Young, now Director of Xenological Studies, presented her report on alien psychology, understanding how other species' thought had been crucial to human victory. "Most surviving aliens view humans as either saviors or demons," she said. "Very few see us as equals. This will complicate future relationships." Catherine understood the problem. Humans had won the war so decisively that other species could not imagine them as anything but conquerors. Building trust would take generations. Commander Sarah Walsh activated a communication array that could reach distant galaxies. Her message was simple but important. "This is the human hegemony. We are transmitting our history and our laws to any civilization that might be listening. We offer trade, friendship, and mutual defense against any threat. But we also offer a warning. Genocide will not be tolerated. Those who attempt to exterminate other species will face the same fate as the Galactic Council." The message would travel for thousands of years before reaching other galaxies. But Catherine wanted to establish humanity's principles from the beginning. Engineer Tony Clark had developed new technologies that could detect and prevent biological weapons. Never again would any species be able to develop genocide tools in secret. "The bioweapon detection network covers the entire galaxy," he reported. "Any attempt to create species-specific weapons will trigger automatic countermeasures." As the meeting ended, Catherine walked to her private office and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them, human ships were exploring new worlds, making contact with alien species, and building the foundation of a different kind of galactic civilization. Ambassador Catherine Blake had become Admiral Catherine Blake. But she remembered her original mission, to represent humanity's best qualities to the galaxy. The war had shown humanity's strength, but now came the harder task of showing their wisdom. She activated her personal communicator and sent a message to every human ship in space. "We are no longer the galaxy's junior members. We are its guardians. Let us prove worthy of that responsibility." The response came back from thousands of vessels across the galaxy, a chorus of human voices united in purpose. "Understood, Admiral. Humanity stands guard.